Maybe it's something else.
I think so. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm always trying to figure what tree he is.
Ladies, you, between the three of you, probably enjoy a perspective on everything we've done as a company and the phenomenon that the product that Walt started has become in the world that no one else in the world has. Could you just tell us, maybe starting with you, from your point of view, how it feels to sit where you're sitting today, having been part of this from the very first idea, from the very first inkling?
Quite wonderful. It's a wonderful thing to see all of this, and each time we come back, there's more, you know, it's just beautiful. Now it couldn't be any better. I don't know how I thought that when they did the Empress Lily. I told Dick, you can't do anything better than this, and they did. See, here it is. I think it's just beautiful. Every place we look, every little thing is just, even this surrounding here, is just so beautiful. That and this.
Could you go back and tell us, maybe compare your feelings about Epcot Center, for instance, with what it felt like opening day at Disneyland?
At Disneyland? That was really something. It was a beautiful thing and a big adventure for Walt and for all of us. And it was almost a dust hole on the opening day. But it was wonderful. It was the start of it, and everything went wrong. All of the equipment wasn't working, and it was really pretty bad. Walt stayed out overnight. I was home, and I heard all these things that were happening out there, you know. But it turned out to be a beautiful place, too.
Do you have any remembrance of that time in 1955?
Just the reviews of Disney's Folly. Some brilliant critic.
We run into those.
Yeah.
Well, how about Epcot Center? I know it must have been a daily part of your life for the last 15 or 20 years. Knowing it from the inside out, is the reality what you would have wanted to see?
I don't really know it that well. I never did it, and it was just mind-boggling. Well, the concept, and then a year ago, was it, down here flying around in a helicopter, or a year and a half ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Mother talking about how Dad would come back from the side of Disneyland and say, boy, we're really moving dirt around. And when I saw those big machines moving dirt around here, I knew what he meant. And there's an excitement just about seeing that recontouring of a piece of land.
He loved to move dirt.
It's impolite to ask a lady, and I won't, but I was born in 1954. In fact, I was born 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day before Disneyland was born. And when you're my age, you grew up with Walt Disney as a hero. That perspective makes it different for us folks that are coming up in the next generation, that are, with any luck, going to inherit the responsibility for all of this. Can you tell us anything that might be a piece of advice that maybe we ought to know, that since we didn't have Walt here to lead us personally, that you could pass on to us?
I think you're doing very well. I don't think I could give you any advice. I don't know how the organization is carried on like it has. I think it's just beautiful. I don't think we could give you any advice on that.
Here's the loaded question, and I've done this to everybody in the company that we've interviewed in the last 2 months, but
just so you don't ask me my age.
I promise. I promise. We'll take you one at a time, maybe, on this one. And the question is, from each of your points of view, you, your father, you, your husband, you, your grandfather, would he have liked this?
He would have loved it. He would have loved it, and we think of that all the time, that he's missed the whole thing, even the opening. He wasn't here, you know. So he's missed the whole thing, and it's so grand. He'd be very happy.
You've made a lot about, well, not a lot, but that it is not the original concept of what Epcot meant. And I think it would have evolved at this very definitely. I can't see how he would have done it any differently because everything I see here reminds me of him standing in the American Adventure and that wonderful vocal group singing there. And all of a sudden, I got this image of Dad, and he was a great sentimentalist. You know, he would watch the flag lowering at Disneyland every evening. They were down there, and tears would go down his cheeks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I could say I had an image of him standing there listening to this group with tears coming down his cheeks. I know he would have been there doing that. And this is all so much in character of his curiosity and excitement about everything, and the future, and yet history and the world, Europe.
But the thing that is so wonderful is because he had this vision before he died, and it's been carried on so completely. That's what would make him feel very good. He used to, when we'd go out to eat, he'd take a paper napkin and he'd tell me about, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and have all these countries come in, and it's happened, which I think is wonderful.
Is it Jenny?
Yeah.
You're sitting in a strange seat here. We're going to use you as a representative of today's folk and perhaps a little more objective point of view. Your feedback from your own friends and feedback from people that you interact with on our product in general, but especially in Epcot Center, what is it? And have you heard anything different, or do you have to approach it in a different way than maybe your mom or your grandmother did?
I don't think so.
If it isn't good, you hadn't better tell us.
I think everything's just as wonderful as they do.
There's a lot of excitement, though, don't
yeah,
you think?
oh, so much. And talking with friends last night, they just think this is it, you know. I mean, it's fantastic.
What would you like to see, just personally speaking, you're here as a guest, what would you like to see us do now? What do we do now that we've gotten this far? What's the next thing?
Nothing. I think this is far enough. I think this is just beautiful. You've covered so much territory that it tires you to go from over there to here. And I don't think you could do any better. I don't think there's anything. Do they have any ideas you're going to do something else?
I have a few.
It's a wonderful, beautiful physical thing, but without the right people in it, you walk through it and that's it. And I think the quality and the kind of people that are working here, you know, in the shops, everywhere, the enthusiasm, the friendliness, the whole feeling, I think that's what you've got to keep working at.
And the fact that
Wonderful.
they've done this, not gradually, they've done it in a hurry, and still they've kept that same quality. I think that's wonderful.
Entertainment.
We haven't any criticism at all.
That's nice to hear. Overall, we're stretching out in another area, of course, and we're going to open a Disneyland in Japan.
Yeah.
That has to feel odd. It feels odd to me, and I don't even have your perspective on it.
I didn't even want him to do the one in Japan. I thought this was enough. I thought this was beautiful, and we did this, and the one out on the coast. But I understand it's going to be very nice. I hope it is. But I think, I thought this was enough.
I think it
I
had
was
to be
ready
done
to quit
also.
a lot of times.
You think Japan had to be?
Well, if you walk around here and around Disneyland, and most of the people that go are Japanese.
That's right.
Well, of course, what Japan leads you to, if you stretch that out, is maybe there's a worldwide need for this. Could you ever see a world that had a Disney outpost, for the lack of a better word, in this outdoor recreation business all over the world, one in Europe, one in South America?
I think it should all come from here. Get all the recognition all over the world from this place. That's just my idea. I didn't want him to do it, but
No,
this came up after Walt was gone, though, didn't it? This,
We've always been very conservative. I think Mother always sort of wanted Dad to say, "Just it's nice the way it is. What
it's
do you
always
want?
done. Let it alone.
What do you want to do that for?"
Yeah.
And so I I don't think an opinion from either one of us is qualified here. Do you?
No, I don't think so at all. When he started Disneyland, I thought, how can he, this is something that nobody's ever done, and how can, there's no pattern to follow. How can you do it?
Yeah.
But somehow he had, and all within his own organization, you see, he pulled us all together, and they went out and got good people, but how did they know how to do that without any experience?
That's a question that's asked a lot and was asked of us on the plane. Where does your company find these people that can do these wonderful things so well that have never been done before? Maybe you can tell us that. Where do you all come from?
It is true. Generations come up and they,
Well, I can answer for this group of people pretty well. We're here because, well, I knew I was going to do this when I was 5 years old. There was no question in my mind. But, and I think Steve and Tom all share the same view. And you'll find that if you look around the company, most of the people who work on our projects would tell you they wouldn't want to work anywhere else. And I guarantee you, once somebody does work on one of these, there's no place else to go. You can't, you know, how do you top up? There's no way to do that.
well, that's a wonderful thing, you know.
Yeah,
It gives you great security to know this, you know. That, but I've always had a feeling, don't get too big, too large.
and
Too late.
Yeah, as I said,
We're here.
I have some bad news for you. You said something that prompted a question. Did you coach Walt a lot? Did you ever, and you too, did you guys get into, did you sit around the kitchen table and talk about what he was doing? And,
Yes, but he did the talking. He did oh, we didn't help him, did we?
No, except maybe sometimes did not seem as excited as he thought we should be. I know
Yeah.
he'd be all fired up about something starting way back when he used to bring his pistons that he was working on for his train, which really I think was one of the beginnings of this whole thing, and he'd bring it to the dinner table at night and pass it around and we talk about this piston. But I think that he never stopped talking about what he was going to do, what he wanted to do.
His life. And
That didn't make him boring.
No, I'm so grateful that everything he thought of and started has come to pass. Very grateful. I think we all are. So happy about it, and it's such a clean, beautiful business to be in.
Why this kind of a thing appealed to Dad so is because you can change it. And he got bored with things you couldn't change. He said, a film, you put it in a can and that's it. But something that you can continually change the shows, update them, upgrade if necessary wherever, and that's why I think something like this is really in the spirit of what everything that he wanted to do. I don't think he ever would have gotten bored here.
Well, we wouldn't.
if we were to think about it, and if it's a big if, obviously, just off the wild side of your head, what other business could we now get into? If we had Walt here and he was sitting here today, you talk about him getting bored. I've got to believe he'd say, okay, we finished this now.
We haven't done that ski resort yet.
That's what I was thinking of, too. We couldn't do it, but we might someday.
That was something he really wanted to do. He really liked the idea of skiing. He thought it was a neat, going way back when you used to go. He never skied well, but he liked it. You know, got involved in the Olympics and but I think we could do a wonderful thing with that.
Well, that's sort of on the order of this. He wanted to kind of build it the same way with a new slant to his ski resorts.
But I think what your future dreams are for Epcot, that it would be, and his original thing, the Epcot idea, was it'd be a sort of a center for ideas from all over the world. Important things would happen here. You start out entertaining beautifully, and through that you build an audience, and you begin to educate, and you begin to do other wonderful things. They all happen here. I think that's
The headquarters.
a nice goal.
One of the things you touched on earlier as well was we, meaning us in the company, have recently taken a lot of heat about, well, where's the Dome City? And you didn't do what Walt said you were going to do and all that. Is there a good answer for that other than than the one that we all are content with, which was, look, he was talking a concept.
Yeah.
You know, it would have changed. Are there maybe I'm wrong, but are there other mediums that had we had that leadership at this point, or even knowing what we know now, that we could get into? Maybe what I'm getting at is people like to pigeonhole Walt as a leader in the entertainment business. Maybe he was not specifically in the entertainment business. It reminds me of the Pennsylvania Railroad story. I had a chance to buy an airplane once. I said, no, we're in the train business, and it promptly went out of business because airplanes became the next thing. It seems to me, looking back, that Walt had an amazing, almost terrifying ability to look 10, 15, 20 years down the road and say, you know what, this is going to be hot in 20 years. We got to do it right now. Is there that left for us? Is there another medium, a whole new thing that we could be doing?
Sure there is.
Beyond entertainment, beyond film?
His mind was never inactive. When I can remember when he was so interested in airplanes. We used to go over at the airport and stand and watch planes land. And this was he just was thinking all the time, and railroads the same way. We'd go over and watch the trains come in. And then that all developed into this, I think, his interest in those things. He didn't, our first plane was a little one, and we had one pilot. And Walt said then he wanted all his son-in-laws and everybody to learn to fly that plane. So after he'd been up in it 2 or 3 times, he said, I don't want you to touch it. He said, that's a business all its own. You could keep away from it. We'll get pilots to fly that plane. But he wanted the best of everything, and he got it.
Now, apropos of what your question, though, I think Dad really was an entertainer. I think that was his prime concern, but he was fascinated with progress, fascinated with all kinds of technology. Given another maybe upbringing, another sort of direction or something, he might have been Albert Einstein. I don't know, because he had that kind of a mind that, but I think he was the guy who would have pursued something with a passion to some point of you know, discovery. But I think that he wasn't an entertainer. I think he was really more concerned with going way back to when he was a child. Everything that I've ever heard about him, he really, things will come from here, and I think that's what he hoped to create in Epcot, was, as you know, that center where maybe wonderful things would happen. Some, you know, scientific conferences and that sort of thing. Get all the great minds of the world together here in this wonderful place, and create a very congenial atmosphere, and wonderful things will happen, like Cal Arts, where he wanted to get all the arts together. And
That's a wonderful thing to do, too.
But I think that he was really an entertainer. I mean, he was really, he felt that that was his expertise.
Did he get his...
That doesn't mean you can't do something beyond that now, you know.
It seems to me that what you're saying is he had an instinct for that. Did he do a lot of hard research? Did Walt go... Did he go to movies that other people made and watch the audience reaction, or...?
We went to every show that ever came along, everything.
He loved entertainment. He loved theater.
We'd
loved
go to
film.
New York, and we'd be booked into every show they had there. And,
Circuses.
and he was always searching. We'd go to Europe. He'd find everything over there that he could see. Always searching.
Yeah.
Just always.
Did he talk to the people about it, or did he just kind of observe it?
And anybody he'd talk to about it. He'd, you know, when we were up at Zermatt, and he was making a picture up there, he'd talk to the people that were just walking around, you know, the town people, and get all he could get out of them, what they thought of the he was a searcher of knowledge all the time. And he had a lot of...
He was curious about everything.
Mm-hmm. He used to take the kids over to ride on a little pony ride. And he'd sit there, I wouldn't go with him, but he'd take Diane and Sharon over, and he'd watch the people. What did they like that or something? And it would be a dusty little place, but he'd sit there, and then he'd take them out to lunch, and take them over to the merry-go-round and watch them. And I didn't think that this was possible when I went with him to buy the property here. It was a horrible piece of property, dust and everything, and he was excited about it. And this was a big thing to do. He undertook that, and God love him, he didn't get to realize what you've all done.
Did you ever think he was just plain nuts when you were you'd hear one of these off-the-wall ideas? I can imagine coming home and have your husband tell you, by the way, I'm going to go buy 47,000 acres in the middle of a swamp in Florida.
That was a big thought, I'm telling you, when he decided to buy all that property. But he did it. Talked Roy into it. And he said to Roy, you go out and get the money. I've got the ideas. And he did.
Jenny, could you give me one good thought about something you remember about your grandfather that would be the first thing that comes to your mind?
Don't tell about the scotch.
Yes. They used to drink scotch and give me ice cubes. And now I'm addicted to this stuff. No, I shouldn't say that.
No, that's what I was saying.
It's an interesting thing. A lot of times when I drink scotch, I talk to Walt. Especially if I drink a lot of scotch.
This was cute because we used to have highballs at home, and they were little, and they were up at my house a lot. And we'd have crushed ice, and then we'd put cherries and
Oranges,
pieces of
slices
orange.
of orange.
And these little mouths would come up for a bite of ice. And we had a little spoon, both
I
of you and
left them there in all good confidence.
And Diane's oldest son, when he was growing up, he said, you know, when I get big, I'm going to drink scotch.
I said, what's that stuff Granny drinks? I'm going to drink it all the time when I grow up.
Ladies, do you have any final thoughts you might want to leave us with, either about Epcot Center or about Walt? Anything on your mind?
It's all
This is
here.
your chance to say the
Just
one
all
thing
here.
you've always wanted to say to however many people you'd like to say it to.
No, it's just, it's all just here. It's all wonderful, just beautiful. I can't think of anything beyond this. I don't think you can either, can you?
I can't think beyond this, but I just, as I said,
Within this.
Yeah. What makes it so wonderful, it's beautiful, and it's so beautifully done, and it's, I mean, this is, where we're sitting is a beautiful little piece of London, you know, a little park, and it's
It is just,
exquisite
and
detail.
all of the buildings,
But it's-
everything is done
without
so
the
effortlessly.
people, the wonderful people that are part of this, that spirit,
Just don't change.
it wouldn't be nearly what it is. It would be empty.
Just what we're looking at now back here. We're all going through there and enjoying it.
The personality is of the place is
But you know that the
important.
quality of what they've done is so wonderful. I mean, all of this, for instance, as I see all the things in the buildings, nothing is done cheap. It's done
No,
well.
it's not.
I mean, it isn't that the quality is there, and they've made the quality be there. The rest of you have.
Well, thanks very much. I really appreciate you talking to us.
Thank you.
We'll let you look.
It's
at the
nothing that
tape.
we're terribly accomplished at. I must confess.
You've done very, very well.
We think we could quit. I think you could quit right now. We've had enough.
I think we-
I mean, in the whole thing. Now I can put my glasses on.
Yes, please. Well, I don't think we'll quit if that's okay with you. Some of us need a job for one thing.
Well, just keep developing what you have here. That's going to be a job.
Yes, it is.
The beauty of it, the landscaping and all, is just wonderful. And we thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.